everyone, welcome to the Dreamer's Edge podcast, and boy do we have a treat for you, because today is Answer the Mail Day! I used to do that with that actual written page, and I got bored with it, so now we're going to do it in the podcast, that way we get more varied answers. And here I am, I'm Dimitri, webmaster of DreamersEdge.com, and I'm here with...
Frank, professional librarian.
As opposed to amateur librarian.
Eric, professional high school teacher. There you go.
And Chris, editor and occasional writer.
So let's get to the first question by Paul. Thank you, Paul, for writing. And his question is, most professional podcasts start with the host chit-chatting about their day. Why doesn't yours? Well, before I continue, Emma, I'll answer this right away, because we're not professional podcasters. Thank you. Aha! My real question, what is, according to Yo, the best sequel of all time?
Aliens, by a mile. Absolutely the greatest sequel of all time.
You mean Predator vs. Aliens Requiem, right?
No. James Cameron, 1986. The best movie. Yes, I'm including Avatar. Best movie ever made.
Best sequel? I would say The Dark Knight. Because Batman Begins was good. Then you got Dark Knight that just elevated that whole thing to something completely different.
I'm going to go a little bit non-action, and I'll say the sequel to Before Sunrise, which is...
Before Sunset.
After Sunset.
I'm officially changing my...
Too late.
Okay.
It's Before Sunset.
Whatever. Everyone knows the movie I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah, it's the one with Denzel Washington as a crazy cop, right?
Yeah.
Stop making fun of me.
In terms of sequels, a long time in making, you got 9 years waiting, and you get to go back and revisit characters that you missed. And, for me, that's the definition of a sequel. Otherwise, it'd probably be, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back.
All good choices, but all the wrong ones. The right answer, ladies and gentlemen, is Godfather Part 2.
For sure. That is the best.
Maybe.
Because I don't consider that a sequel. I consider that's where it started.
What? We follow the life of Michael Corleone after the events of the first movie.
Next question.
Yep.
Ryan the Destroyer asks,
Hey,
Dimitri,
Ryan.
as a professional web writer, what do you think of magazines complaining about losing millions to the web? It's like they can't adapt, and they're just fighting progress. Eric, what do you think?
Well, I think that they need to...
Stop whining.
Stop whining. I think the internet is still kind of the Wild West. Wild people... West. Hasn't been legislated or laws...
It can be legislated, though. It's international. It's
but there's going to be laws eventually. It'll be like Deadwood, Eventually the laws, they come in.
Really?
I think paper is still going to sell. I think magazines are still going to sell, but they need to rethink about it.
I wonder. E-books are taking over, man.
I think books will stay there longer than magazines. I do think magazines will probably eventually fade as soon as the big...
Everybody has to go to the dentist, man.
Tablet format is going to get, or even your iPod or your Kindle, whatever. I do think the magazine's a perfect medium for that kind of reading platform in a way, and eventually, once we figure out how to monetize it properly, I do think it's going to go that way. The print media is just kind of going through the throes of a change, and it's going to be painful for a lot of people for sure, but I do think it makes sense for them to go digital.
I think it's a bit premature to talk about the death of magazines, and more importantly, about the magazine writers whining. The thing that's going on with the magazine writing and why it's failing is not just the cost of shipping and the cost of paper. It mostly has to do with advertising, because magazine writers are paid a hell of a lot more than web writers. Just so you know, Ryan, because I know you want to be a writer. And the reason for that is because the magazine writer will do a lot more work. Most magazine writers are journalists. They do the legwork, they investigate. As a web writer myself, I can tell you right away, I can't investigate myself out of a paper bag. And the thing that's going on with the web is that most websites, what they do is that they collect information that came from legitimate sources, newspapers, actual media, and whatnot, and they give opinion pieces about them. And the thing that's too worrisome about that, I have editors who, when I give a source of somebody I interviewed or whatever, they're like, well, can you give me a web link? Because I can't verify that. And I'm like, no, this was a first-tier source. I can't. And they kind of can't wrap themselves around that. And that's a danger, because what if the predicted fall of the magazine happens? Who's going to do the legwork on which the web is based? And if you impose on web writers to do the legwork, suddenly $100, $200 per article is not going to be enough, because If you calculate by hour, it'll mean I'll be paid like $5 an hour, and I'm not going to work for that. So what's going to happen is that they're going to have to pay their writers more, and when they're going to have to pay their writers more, suddenly the cheap advertising that's on the web is not going to be enough to sustain the website, and it'll collapse the same way the magazines are going to collapse. So I'm praying that a more solid infrastructure for the web is going to happen before the magazine falls apart. And I think the more the writers complain about it, the more magazines complain about it, the better it is, because we need to slow down the death of the magazine.
I read this interesting article where there are two types of periodicals out there. There are some that in the 90s realized that they could make a whole bunch of cash by essentially selling their space for advertisement, and they're the ones that are in trouble today because everybody's pulling the advertisement. Whereas there's the other type of periodical which really put an emphasis on content and on basically good writers, and they're still getting massive subscriptions and they're still doing fine. So yeah, absolutely, I would say that you stick with quality, and it's good whether it's on the web or it's in a magazine. It's going to survive.
The thing is, I would rather not have 30 magazines around my house, which I have now.
Mm-hmm.
If I could have it on my digital platform, that's what a magazine is. You know what I mean? Because I don't archive my magazines. Once I read them, I make notes of a couple of the articles I like. You know what I mean? So it makes sense that magazine writing will eventually go digital in my mind.
Mm-hmm. The worry I have about it as well is this is what's going on with web. Like when you compare it to the Wild West, it's such a great analogy, because what's going on with websites a lot of time is that you'll have the legitimate site of, let's say, the Times.
Yeah.
But they post an article that says this revelation about, like, I don't know, we even discovered the G-spot, whatever. No, it's because it's an actual article I read recently. And you'll have this other site, let's call it, legitimatesexnews.com, and that says, like, well, the Times says this, here's a link. Nobody's going to click on that link because they already got the information from legitimatesexnews.com. So nobody's going to visit the Times. And Times can't sue Legitimate Sex News because they were quoted. Time was legitimately quoted. But at the same time, Legitimate Sex News just stole all the bandwidth from Times by taking the news bit, putting it on their site for cheaper without doing any of the legwork. It's a problem because that's completely stealing bandwidth and information, but it's completely illegal right now. And I think that's why magazines have been a little bit afraid of putting stuff on the web, because another website, all it has to do is get a subscription and then steal all the news all the time.
Well, I think we're going to see that because now there's going to be more and more magazines that are going to be putting up, I think even New York Times actually putting up a pay block. Variety has done this recently, and a couple other sites, so, for a couple of years you've had quite a lot of free content, but now the walls are starting to go up. But the thing is, it's exactly what you described, where it's just like someone's going to subscribe to it and then they're going to publish it, However, if for $15 a month I could get a subscription to like the 20 different magazines I like digitally, then I would do it. You know what I mean? Like just like micro payments, like for sure.
Next one, I guess.
Is there a movie that when you catch on TV, you always start watching it and you can't stop? Mine is Princess Bride.
And who wrote this?
Candace.
Thanks, Candace.
That was exactly my answer. Yeah, Princess Bride is probably the movie that I'll end up, or what? Oh shoot! What's the movie with Glenn Close and Jeremy Irons where he plays the rich millionaire that kills his wife?
Didn't see that one.
It has Ron Silver in it. I can name all the actors, but I can't name the title.
That's because you always catch it after the title appears.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always like late night movies or something like that. Whenever it passes, I'll watch it from all the way to the end.
Dial in for moron?
Anyway,
it's a wacky comedy.
Somebody knows the title.
Okay, for me, it's pretty much Casino or Goodfellas are pretty much. I don't really realize I'm holding the remote anymore. I just get sucked into the movie. So yeah, definitely.
It's Clueless. Every time Clueless starts, I see Olivia Stone going, "What if?" And I'm like, "I remember this. This is hilarious." And I always end up watching it all the way to the end, going like, "Wow, Paul Rudd looks so young." Every
That's
time.
him? Oh my god!
Yeah, it is.
Yes, true.
I don't know if I've got anything to add to this because I don't watch TV.
And unable to watch. I mean, look away.
No,
Okay,
well, it's just
I
like
think-
when I, you know what I mean? Like I use the internet, you know what I mean? So if there's something I want to watch, I'll just go search it out, you know what I mean? But I've never been a channel surfer, is what it comes down to.
Mhm.
So,
In that case, I'll pick another thing under your name. I also do the same thing with Scream.
Next question.
that's a good one, actually. Scream. This one's from
Max.
either M Max or M Max.
Max. He's the elephant guy from the Chuck Huston X-Men.
So Max asks, how do you feel about shaky cam action movies, which supposedly makes it look more realistic, but it just makes you want to vomit and can't even show the action correctly? Not even able to hold the camera without trembling. Where's the genius in that? Example, compare like Born Identity is cool and the two sequels deserve the septic tank. Frank, I know you've got some serious thoughts.
Seriously. Yeah. Okay, I can't actually watch like the handheld camera movies without essentially wanting to throw up after 5 minutes. And I'm not saying that because I don't like it. I'm saying because I have an actual physical reaction. Blair Witch Project, I essentially saw that movie watching the walls of the movie theater. I mean, seriously, it's interesting architecture, really.
Quick aside, I had the same reaction to Paranormal Activity. I stared at the floor the entire movie.
Okay. Not because you were scared, but because the
Yeah.
thing was shaking. Yeah, okay. So Cloverfield, I didn't even give it a shot. I was mildly nauseous during District 9 and basically missed out on an entire hour of Avatar, the middle one. So, yeah, it's...
Oh man, that was the best one.
yeah,
Because there's so many
I
hours
guess.
to choose from.
But it's more awesome when you experience it from an audio standpoint. Yeah, big thumbs down basically on shaky cam. You know, it's supposed to be. They try to make it cool, but really, seriously, I mean, you know, it kind of sucks, and particularly for people like me.
Now, I understand the idea of the shaky cam, and I think I like more the idea than watching it. Like Batman Begins, I hated the action in it. It was so annoying because I'm like,
Well, that wasn't shaky cam. That's just the camera was too close.
And it was quick cuts, and I think it was to make up for the fact that the Batsuit must have been so clunky that
Yeah.
he couldn't fight in it. You know?
They didn't want to show the
but
nipples,
it's
right?
kind of funny because that same director in was it Memento? Like I like that kind of shaky cam whenever it goes to an action sequence. Like I liked it. But in that case, I didn't like it. And I really liked the Bourne movies, like the two sequels. I did like them. I didn't necessarily
they're
like
not-
the action because it was annoying. And,
So they're not septic tank worthy. Is what you're saying?
Well, no, not to that extent. But I do understand what he's saying about the shaky cam. It is annoying.
I don't know. I feel like I've been trained to start appreciating the shaky cam as a viewer, you know. So
Yeah, but
The
that's
first-
when you're looking at a movie, you're focusing on the subtitles. You're not
Yeah.
paying.
no, well, I'm saying even as a moviegoer, you know, I think the first time I really saw it that it threw me off was Saving Private Ryan? I guess. Where it's basically they do the landfall at the beginning, and it's just like over the top, shaky, you know, like it's just intense and visceral, and it's just like it was the first time I saw Cameron do that, and the sound, and it's just I was kind of a little bit thrown, you know. It took me a little while to kind of learn the vocabulary, I guess, you know. Whereas now, there's been a couple times where I watched the movies, and it's just I've been seated wrong in the theater, and it's just I find it difficult to watch. But otherwise, if I'm seated properly, it's just like I can actually appreciate it, you know. It's not something I'll seek out, but if it does add to the story, I like it. But it's just I think we talked about James Bond Quantum of Solace earlier. I find when they used the shaky cam there, it really wasn't a style that the director wore properly, you know. And whereas, you know, someone like Greengrass or whatever, it's something that he seems to really like, and I find he does it well. I don't know.
Look, Max, I'm gonna say it. I'm with you. I think I hate the two more sequels. I really do. But for me, it's all about context. And well, there's a little bit of technique. I think Michael Mann does it excellently. I've never had any trouble watching a man doing his shaky cam stuff because it looks great. But for me, it's all about context. My problem with the Bourne Supremacy and Bourne Ultimatum is that I think it's the wrong approach. I like Bourne Identity, the way they remove the camera from the action to make you identify more with the witness, played by Fenka Potente? No, yeah. where it's sort of like you're kind of watching this man turn into a machine doing kick-ass things, and kind of you're alienated by it, and it's spectacular because of it, because he's just acting like a machine, you know. And being put in the middle of the action, which is the point of shaky cam, felt sort of like that's not the angle I want for Bourne. I want to be a little bit alienated by just how efficient he is, and I feel it's the wrong approach for Bourne. As opposed to that, same director, Greengrass, doing it for United 93, I thought was perfect.
So,
It's me.
Dimitri, I believe Ali is asking you a question.
How do you guys all know each other, and what happened to Kazim? I'll answer the last part first. What happened to Kazim is there's actually still a couple of episodes that we pre-recorded with Kazim there, and you're going to get a chance to hear them. The way I worked with Kazim took a lot more editing. And so there's kind of a lag. It took me about 2 to 3 weeks to edit every episode. So it was sort of time for a change. Also, Kazim was getting a bit less enthused and comfortable with the prospect. She might come back at some later date, certainly. But it's not something she wants to do regularly anymore. That also, and she didn't want to sleep with me, so I just went let go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I just realized I didn't know Kazim was a she.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, it's good to know. Okay, so latecomer. Hey, all right. So I'm just, I'm learning things. I met Chris in the year of our Lord, 1992. 91, 91, 92. If it wasn't for a part-time job that I had at the time, this podcast would not be happening because, I met Chris. First time I saw him, I thought, man, they're really lowering the standards of the library by hiring this guy. But I thankfully realized that I was wrong, and that Chris is actually an okay guy, and can I actually have several conversations with him, and so hung out with him for a while, and I'll just let Chris take it away.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit the hub here. Dimitri is someone I used to work with as an editor, and Eric's someone who I knew years ago, then refriended.
Was it through Facebook?
No, actually through Concordia. Yeah, his last course and one of my first courses when I finally went back to university.
Actually, it's worth mentioning, we actually know each other from Concordia as well.
That's true. What it comes down to is Montreal's a very small city.
Next question. Donna asks, hi Donna, how's it going? Are there any actors that you just can't stand, like you'll refuse to see a movie just because he or she is in it? For me, it's George Clooney. I know he's talented and he's supposed to be an amazing person and all, but when he's in a movie, I just think he's so smug. Good question. I personally have this problem with Tom Cruise, though I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. But I have to say, actually, Tom Hanks really gets on my fucking nerves.
I went through that period too. I'm okay with him now, but I went through that period too.
Seriously, I cannot stand his face. Seriously, you can't pay me, or you can't even get me to sit down and watch one of his movies. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you for Tom Cruise. Like, I keep remembering that...
Mission Impossible.
No, Eyes Wide Shut. That movie would have been so much better with a good actor.
But you had the whole wife thing, right?
Thing.
The whole...
So what?
Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, they're really husband and wife.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Yet they have no chemistry.
He's acting for that.
I know, and he's... I know there's a female actor...
Actress?
Actress, yeah. That annoys me, but I can't remember.
Well, I remember, but first I'm going to go... I think Tom Cruise makes himself a pretty big target, for sure. And for me, anyway, he's not the best actor. I think he tries really hard. And he gets a little bit of a pass for Collateral. I don't know why I like that movie.
Oh, yeah, he's good.
And
because he plays somebody without a personality. He's perfect for it.
And he's kind of explosive, and it's just, I don't know, it's just like there's something about that movie I like, That said, Renée Zellweger. I hate with such a passion.
She looks like the Pink Panther anteater.
And I love that thing.
Yeah, when she sucks in her cheeks. She just bugs me to no end.
And especially Cold Mountain, it's such a good story.
Yeah.
She ruined that.
And
No, sorry, yes.
Dimitri, I'm curious to hear your
Okay,
thoughts.
well, I actually kind of like Tom Cruise. But,
Okay, sorry.
no, for me, it's Winona Ryder.
You know, she's either very good or very bad for me.
I don't
Like,
think
I
she's
can
ever
see...
really good, but
She every role she plays
Edward
is
Scissorhands.
whiny. It's like she plays a robot in Alien Resurrection. It is the whiniest robot in the history of cinema.
Well, Alien
And that
Force.
includes the kid from AI.
Oh, boy.
Actually, you know who annoys me too? Scarlett Johansson.
oh, I hate her.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson kind of gets on my nerves a little bit.
I liked her in Lost in Translation because she had no personality.
Yeah.
That's the character. And then I realized after, I'm like, oh, it's not an act.
But the thing with Scarlett Johansson, I have to say, she's kind of hot. So it's sort of like
Yeah,
she
she gets the
skates
pass.
through.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
know.
Winona Ryder.
She doesn't do it for me, man. I have the same problem with Katie Holmes. It's like I can't stand women who can't smile. And look, that's in real life too. Like a woman who can't smile is just sort of like I hate you.
So every
Spoiler
single
alert.
woman you see on the metro, I hate you. I hate you.
Yeah,
I hate you.
not doesn't smile. Can't smile.
The difference, yeah, definitely. All right, next question.
Oh, this is from Susan. What are some of the things that they always end up doing in movies, like a cliche or predictable formula, that annoy you most? Me, can't stand it when the characters go shopping for clothes, end up doing a fashion montage where they goof around and try ugly dresses that anyone with a brain would have left on the rack.
I gotta say, Susan, that's a great cliche you're pointing out.
I
That's
know,
a really
it
good
is,
one.
actually. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's right up there with the action star that actually like oils his weapons and gets ready for battle.
I would actually say like the cliche that annoys me the most is seeing like well, we see it less now, but some of those martial art films where the guy actually puts on like the bandana, like he covers his eyes, and then magically, since he
Blind
covers his
fighting
eyes,
is
yeah,
awesome, though.
exactly.
I know, it totally.
You're gonna be a better fighter if you close your eyes. What the fuck?
I agree. Totally ruined G.I. Joe the movie for me.
I like Iron Eagle's take on it. It's like I'm not a good pilot, but if I listen to my rock music, all of a sudden I become awesome. Yeah, totally.
But also, I guess the annoying part that I have is like the video montage that you'll see of, let's say, somebody training.
Oh, yes,
And you're kind of like, what are you doing? Who trains like that?
You know my favorite training montage in the movie, inappropriate training montage.
Don't say
in the
Rocky
movie?
Ford.
No.
Taxi Driver.
No. Nightmare on Elm Street for the Dream Warriors. There's
Oh.
a freaking 80s training montage in the middle of a horror film.
Oh my god, I remember that.
Which is the Rocky where they're running on the beach with the short shorts?
That's Rocky
That's
3.
Rocky 3, man. That's when
That's a
Apollo comes back to train
That's a
Rocky
good
after
Yeah.
after the old guy gets whacked. Oh my god, that was so awesome. What about you, Chris?
I guess for me it's maybe a little bit more it's smaller, but it's just like when they zoom in on the calendar and the calendar pages flip away.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just something. It's just like it happens, and it's just like it's so bad. And I think they even did it in Twilight.
New Moon they did it. Yeah, New Moon they did it.
But I haven't watched it. You know what I mean? But it's just like it's been a little while since I've seen it, and it was the first time I heard about it. You know, for a while.
Well, New Moon they do even worse because the camera pans around and you can see the season changing, and you see the calendar pages fall, and there's a subtitle indicating what month it is. It's sort of like it's so overkill. Well, small cliche. I have a bigger one that really drives me up the wall, but the small one that always takes me out of the movie is when people want to tell the driver that they're ready to go, like from outside the car, like their friend is in the car and they go like ready to go. They tap on the car. And it's like bump, 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 and then the car knows that it has to drive away, like as if it was a horse. But the thing that really annoys me in movies, though, I call it the moral math. If the moral math doesn't add up, I go nuts. Born Supremacy is one of those movies where I have that problem where at the end of the movie he goes through like this gigantic car chase and shoots all kinds of bad guys and people, and there's all kind of collateral damage because the cars are flipping over, and at the end, and I'm going to spoil the movie here, so if you haven't seen Born Supremacy and plan to, just go la 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 for a few seconds. He does it all so he can find the widow of one of his victims and say he's sorry for killing him.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
is he going to do that for all the other people he just killed in the process?
Yeah, but that's the one he
No,
remembers.
Dimitri, if he remembers.
I think mine. So many cliches to pick from. That secondary character who gets shot in 2/3 of the movie in, and you know the moment the gunshot hits that this guy's like, he's not dead yet, but it's just like the extended long death scene. The most ridiculous for one actually is this movie called Mulholland Drive, where the guy gets shot and then gets on a plane for 20 minutes, but then has the death scene. Like, I mean, and only realizes as he's getting off the plane that he's been shot and that he's dying.
He's always
Like,
2 days away from
Nick
retirement.
Nolte just like holding, what's his name? Just like, and this guy just like suddenly holds his chest, and you see the spreading blood spot on the white shirt. You're like, oh my God,
Where did
guess
this
who's
come
going
from?
to die now? Seriously, wow.
He
Anyway,
just got married too.
you just, you know,
And he's and you know what though, we've really
2
gone
days away
forward in
from-
the world
yeah,
because about 20 years ago he was always black.
yeah, totally, yeah, absolutely. You know, I seriously, a big underrated movie, Last Action Hero. The whole bit where the house explodes, the black cop in the trees. 2 days till retirement. Seriously, man, that movie's underrated.
I agree. That's it for this episode. We'll do some more reader mail at a later time. So if you want to send us more mail, because clearly we do read them, mail at thedreamersedge.com or post a comment at thedreamersedge.com. Bye.